I'm Diego Cordovinez.
Adam Schoenfeld.
Welcome to The Scoop, brought to you by Full Tilt Poker. And we have a special guest, Phil Gordon, who's a very accomplished poker player. Some people might not know because it was in the old days, but he's won 2 WPT tournaments and he's made the final table, the main event.
The main event.
Years ago, which is a big deal. But he's also done a lot of interesting things, and he's one of these ubiquitous people who's involved in so many different aspects of poker.
He's what we call long. He's got a lot of length.
He's got a lot of length, and he also seems to...
A lot of upside.
He's got a lot of upside, and he elicits...
strong reactions.
Well put.
Thank you.
Strong reactions. So you're very accomplished. You've made a World Series main event final table, 2 WPT titles.
Yep.
But it's fair to say that your legacy in poker will be your hosting of the Bravo Celebrity Poker.
Sure, yeah.
When the obituary for Phil Gordon's written, the first paragraph will be Celebrity Poker.
Probably. Well, let's hope not, but, you know.
I thought you were
I've got
really,
some bigger and better things in the works.
I thought you were really good on that, but they never really utilized you properly because they just used you as a computer.
Yeah.
And this, I don't mean this as an insult, because you're a very articulate,
it wasn't a poker show.
Funny guy. Right.
You know?
Right.
I don't want you to put down the show you're on.
No,
I thought they
hey,
could have used you a lot better.
Yeah.
I put down the fact that when I did...
We're using all our good material.
When I did see moments from there, it seemed like you were trying valiantly to hide a pained expression.
Yes. Yeah.
Is that accurate? Or
pretty much, yeah.
Good read? Because
Every show you just wanted to, like...
Was it painful to do from that standpoint?
Yeah, it was. Some of it, yeah. I mean, there were some good players on there too, you know, but it was fun. It was a great gig.
It was a great gig, and it was
For
great
sure, it was
exposure.
the best gig in poker for a while, I think.
It was great
Mainstream
exposure,
audience.
great everything.
Yeah.
Mainstream audience, big audience, you know, bigger ratings than the World Series of Poker was getting at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you think that people, the great unwashed, they
Sure.
want to see celebrities play poker? Because, like, I don't want to
They
see
want
that.
to see celebrities do anything, just look
Yeah.
at The Apprentice.
Right, right.
I mean, why is that show any good?
Well, there's drama there. There's an inherent conflict and
There's drama in poker
personality and
too.
all
I
that.
mean, you know, we had Dennis Rodman on. That was, you know,
And they
there
had him
was,
on The
there
Apprentice.
was drama,
Right.
right? I mean,
I'd like to see you do some other poker announcing.
well, I did the World Series live
Final table.
final tables
Right,
for 2
that
years.
was very good. Right.
On the
That was the
pay-per-view.
toughest job I've ever had.
And that was like lengthy.
That was 15 hours, no hole
Right.
cards.
And
I mean,
live, right.
And live. I mean,
Yeah. And the no hold
talk about
cards.
ridiculous. I mean, that was the hardest job I think, maybe in broadcasting.
I mean, I've done TV poker, but never live. And just when I saw you do that, and I probably just saw it one of the years, but I was in awe of how, and I noted how difficult it must be. I mean, there's
Yeah.
a lot of time to fill, and like when a guy goes into a 4-minute thing, which they're entitled to do, playing
Sure,
for millions
yeah,
of
yeah.
dollars, but you have to talk.
Well, you don't have to, and what we learned, I think, in our second year is that sometimes not talking is better.
Yeah.
You know, but
How
we were-
long can you?
We were learning, but we're also listening into our headsets, and it's like the producer, like, say something intelligent, you know.
Right. make some comments here. People are
Yeah,
paying
exactly.
money.
So, you know, it was a constant battle between wanting to do right and not knowing what the hell you're talking about. And, you know, of course, if you ever speculate on a hand and then they show it afterwards, you're really dead to the world. Everyone will hate you.
But you know, the thing is, you only hear from a very vocal minority of malcontents.
Yeah.
In general, it's like most people. Yeah, you took a guess. It's wrong.
Sure,
That's
yeah,
part
yeah.
of poker, right?
You know what? Any kind of public persona comes with your share haters, and I certainly have my fair share. I
You
mean,
have your fair share. But the thing about that is, they sold, I don't know how many, obviously, tens of thousands of pay-per-views.
Sure.
And a lot of people who are watching are just fans,
Of
people
the game.
who've seen these names, and it's a big deal, and they're having a lot of fun. You have a minority of like more hardcore poker players who are
Yeah.
watching, second guessing everything.
You
posting
always
on
have
the
to
forums.
cater to, you know.
That's a real minority.
For
at the
when
end
I
of
was
the
doing
day.
celebrity poker, I had a pretty clear idea of what I wanted to do. I wanted about 80%, 70% of the content to be for new players, people that just are interested in how the game works,
Mhm.
and you know they may not understand any strategy whatsoever. 20% for medium
Right.
strength players and 10% for for the advanced player. And I think whenever you do a show, you have to do it kind of in those percentages, or you're just going to lose most of your audience. I mean, even people that are watching World Poker Tour now, that's probably the kind of the percentage that are watching.
But that's
right?
a tough tightrope.
When's the last World Poker
Right.
Tour you watched?
Well, I was going to say, when you said the people who are watching, I was going to say the last 20 or 30 people that are still watching the World Poker Tour on TV.
Right? When's the last time you watched an episode?
No.
Right?
I can't remember.
The people that are watching now are probably the same people that were watching in the early days.
Yeah.
It's the new player, the people that are looking to get involved with the game. And as a commentator, I think it's your job to educate them, and don't worry so much about the advanced players that are watching.
I think I have a slightly different opinion in that I think that if you give them more advanced poker commentary, they will learn by osmosis, and that over time...
You can't go right over their head right away. I mean, you kind of have to build into it, you know?
I'm not going to
pander
pander to the losers and the ignorant, Phil. No, you know,
Yeah,
we can disagree.
well,
Reasonable people can disagree on this.
Sure, yeah. I mean, you know, you can also just go completely highbrow and, you know, but
Then
then
you're
again,
PBS.
for the people that I was commenting on,
Right.
they had no idea what they had.
Right.
They didn't
Well, I
know
was
what they
gonna
were
say,
doing. So
it would be completely lost in
it's
that.
No, on
completely,
Celebrity
you know,
Poker, I think...
wow, he's setting up some super advanced
Right.
triple.
Right.
He checked the nuts 3 times, and you know,
Right.
If they made a good play there, it was by accident. Some
Of course.
bluff where they thought they had the best hand.
they
or
would have
the
done better
opposite.
sometimes just by doing something random.
But this is the conundrum of all TV poker coverage, which is you have people who don't know what the hand rankings are, and
That's
you have
right.
people who are super advanced,
That's
and
right.
it's hard to please everyone. I think that's fair.
So you have to do a little mix. You know,
And-
I chose 70, 20, 10.
Right.
The producers seemed happy with that for the 7 seasons of the show that I was
Right.
lucky enough to host, and we went from there.
Ironically, and this is since we've tortured you with the celebrity poker discussion.
That's right.
When I first really got to know you was when you made the final table in 2001, the year that Carlos Mortensen won.
Yeah.
And the irony is that that was not televised. This was before the era of ESPN showing
Right.
hours and hours.
It was just on a...
They
That
had
was
like
1
a
hour on
right.
Discovery
and a
Channel.
1 hour
right?
Discovery Channel. in
No
which-
hole cards. That was fun.
No hold cards, and also even that hour they had stuff from away from the table.
Everyone had a
and
personality
setting it
feature.
up,
Of
course.
and It was a whole.
They were like,
Well, what
Three
else are
heads.
you going to do when you can't show
Right.
hole cards?
But I watched that final table live, and that still remains the best final
it was
table.
awesome.
there's
Oh, we
been.
had everything there.
If they had that now, I mean, you had Mike Matizow, you had Phil Hellmuth,
Yeah.
you had
Dewey
Mike,
Tomko.
you had
I
Dewey
mean,
Tomko, you had Carlos running this incredible 4-bet bluff on Mike that set him off.
And then Mike going
You're-
all in with the 7, triple bluffing with the 7 deuce offsuit.
Yeah, that's right.
Hellmuth showing his hand early.
That was...
I mean, it was
mean,
unbelievable.
Yeah, for people who forgot early in the show, early in the at the final table, there was a raise and a re-raise, and Mike put in the third big raise, and then he got trapped in when someone moved in on him and only
He
had
had
to
to
call a
call
little bit
7
more,
deuce, yeah.
and he had to show the 7 deuce soft suit, and from that point on, the table just went nuts.
We were just like, are we playing for the world championship here, or is this a $5 sit and go?
And that's the other thing too, that unlike now, the money was not nearly as flat as it is now. It was the old
Right.
pay structure.
Yeah,
so
I was in 4th. I made $400,000 in that, and
First was
Carlos
$1.5
was
million.
1.5 million, and second
Yeah.
place was I think $1 million.
Yeah.
You were the first person I ever saw butt heads with Phil Hellmuth on TV, though. And to me,
Oh.
like, you'll always be a hero for that.
Yeah, well, we've had our disagreements
See-
over the years. Here's the thing: I really like Phil.
Oh,
I think Phil is
This doesn't mean he's not a
one of the
likable
most
guy.
remarkable people I've ever met in my life.
Certainly.
That doesn't mean he's
Remarkable
not
is
an
a good
idiot,
word.
and not sometimes at the table,
Sometimes, yeah.
particularly. But away from the table, he couldn't be a better family man. He does an incredible amount of work for charity. He's been a big supporter of the Bad Beat on Cancer since its inception.
I want to talk more about his antics.
He's always-
yeah, those are,
But
what
that
do you-
being said, I mean,
what do you remember from that table? What was going on with you?
I
Phil?
remember what I remember the most is before the final table started, I was with Rafe, and we were talking about strategy, and Rafe was like, "Look, this guy is coming after you. You've got to set the tone early, and let him know that you're not going to be messed around with."
Right.
And I said, "Yeah, you're right." And I said, "Look, the first time he raises my big blind, I'm not going to look at my cards, and I'm moving in on him."
Which against
And-
Phil is a sound strategy for the most part.
And
unless
sure
it's a
enough,
big
like
hand.
the third hand of the final table, I'm in the big blind. He raised. Everyone folded to me. I moved in. I didn't look yet. And I got to show him like Queen 4 offsuit or something like that, and he
Gotcha,
just
that
went
way.
like completely berserk.
Right.
Perfect.
I was like, Phil, you're not stealing my blinds,
And
during this tournament. It's not going to happen. I'm coming after you. If you want to play with
You were-
me, I'm willing to go broke.
that's
But you're
awesome.
not getting the best of me.
I think you were like in his big blind when he was on the button or late position. I remember the way
Yeah,
you were
exactly.
seated. So
And had you had any history with him? Remind us like where you were in the world of poker at that point. Did people know you, or he just thought you were a dilettante?
I'd played, I'd played very little. I've been playing quite a bit of limit hold'em.
Right.
But that was really my first big tournament. I mean,
that's amazing.
See, what I remember, because I finished on the bubble that year, so I was playing for 3 or 4 days, whatever it was.
Oh, I've heard this.
And no, but what I remember is you were at my table for a while, and Phil Hellmuth was at another table, and for whatever reason, you're riding him the whole time from table to table. So I don't know if you guys were buddies or had a history or what, but the needling had begun like on day 2, and by the time you both made the final table, there already was some precedence here.
Yeah.
How did it start even?
He's just always been, the favorite guy for our group of tilt boys to pick on, and how could he not be, right? I think it's, look, I think part of Phil's success is that people have just this huge reaction to him, right? And it's either one of two responses that he elicits. Mm-hmm. People are either deathly afraid of them, and they fold too much.
And he knows how to take advantage of them.
And he knows how to take advantage of them and identify those players. Yeah. Or people are so intent on beating him that they play too many hands.
Right.
And he knows which people those are, too. So in my mind, whenever Phil gets to the table, I can kind of see him like going through, we'll play too many hands against me, we'll fold too much. Right. We'll play too many hands against me, we'll fold too much, we'll fold too much, we'll fold too much, we'll play too many hands against me. And once he's got that, he knows exactly what to do.
He's categorized people, and he's waiting for the ones who are capable of moving all in on.
But there's no one in that middle ground that will just like play their normal game against him. He does not elicit that reaction from anyone in the poker world, myself included. Right. When he's at my table, I want to beat him more than anything in the world, and I probably play too many hands against him.
He is a larger-than-life figure, and the attention is always on him, and he knows how to manipulate that.
But doesn't that make sense? I mean, I really think, and in No Limit, right? In No Limit, if you know which way your opponent's going, it's so exploitable.
What you just said is perfect.
It's so exploitable, and I see other players, with enormous success have that same dynamic. Almost all the famous players, whether it be Daniel Negreanu or Phil Ivey or Mike Matusow or Gus Hansen, they all get that same level of variance from their opponents. They, especially if they're at a TV table. By God, I mean, my God, if you're at a TV table and you're Phil Hellmuth, I mean, everything gets magnified. Right. Does that make sense?
With him, it's magnified also because of his personality, and he's going to make it into this personal thing, and once the dialogue starts between him and other people, it's escalated. But even someone like Phil Ivey, he's got his headphones on, he's not talking to anybody.
Doesn't matter.
What you say is true in that there are people who are not going to play a single hand against him unless they have aces, and there are other guys who are like, I'm going to knock this big number 1 guy off, and they're like just looking to mix it up with him and show, hey, I'm a tough guy.
And I've experienced the same thing. I mean, when I was playing tournaments, I'm not playing very much these days for good reason, but when I was playing tournaments and Celebrity Poker was kind of at the height of its popularity, and my books had just come out, I'd see the exact same reaction from opponents. They'd either fold too much or they'd call too much, and it was really easy to figure out which kind of player they were. And I think my results were above average for that time period. Because of that very phenomenon and being able to identify that.
I'd say well above average. Yeah. I played in the World Poker Tour that you won at the Bay 101. Yeah. I remember we were I was at your table on the second day. I didn't have any success against you. But you're also one of these guys who you're very valuable. You draw a lot of attention. You're super tall. You're people they know your life story, and to a lot of people that gets into their skin. They don't like a young guy who made a lot of money and who talks a lot and who's smart and maybe smarter than they are. So you can exploit some of those things too.
And there are people who are jealous. I mean, you did the Ultimate Sports adventure. I know it's
That's still probably the best year.
You spent a year driving around with your friend Ray First in an RV, going to every single sporting event there is.
Of all the kind of weird,
I forgot about that.
Crazy things that whether backpacking in Africa for a year and a half or all the really kind of nutty things that I've been able to do. I think that year that we spent in the RV was just ridiculous. I mean, we went to 143 sports events and in 43 states and did 41,000 miles around the U.S.
And you guys were doing the driving?
Oh, we did all the driving. We had one of the very first satellite internet connections on the RV. So we're driving down the road, playing on full tilt, and you get pocket aces, and you'd have to pull the RV over into the other lane so that you didn't lose connection.
Did you find that the sporting events sort of just started running one into another, or were you able to enjoy?
We were able to enjoy. Some of them obviously were less, interesting than others. But we went to 26 baseball stadiums. We did all the major events. So we were at 2 Super Bowls, the NBA Finals, the Stanley Cup Finals, the Little League, the Major League, and the College World Series. We played the top 25 golf courses. We went to the Masters, the Final Four.
Right. People could be jealous.
Every day was an adventure. Every day was like having to get in the RV and driving somewhere, trying to get there for the start of the game.
See, I'm jealous of Phil, but I still like him. I think that a lot of people run into trouble because they get jealous, and then for some reason that makes them dislike someone. It's like, you didn't take your stuff out of my pocket, so why would I dislike you for it?
Well, I think success in different arenas, breeds contempt.
Like even our tiny notoriety, we have haters. Now,
yes.
You have haters?
Yeah.
Come on. I don't believe that. Who could dislike you guys?
Thanks for joining us on The Scoop, brought to you by Full Tilt Poker. And someone of Phil Gordon's height cannot be limited to 1 episode.
No, anyone 6'6" and above, they have to get 3.5 foot segments.
So we're going to bring them back next week. In the meantime, write to us with ideas at thescoop@cardplayer.com.